have a top, the total value locked, the exchange rate, and the return on investment. Once you connect your wallet to this website, and bearing in mind you need to be on Binance Smart Chain on whatever wallet you're using. Once you connect up your wallet, you can then go ahead and buy panels. Before buying, you can make sure that, for example, if someone referred you, you have the referrer set. So if you navigate to the website using someone's referral link, the referral will automatically set. You'll see as soon as you load the dApp that in the bottom right corner, it will say that your referrer has been set. That is accurate. So if you use the referral link just by clicking it, it would reset your referral for you automatically at the time the site opens. However, if you didn't do that, and let's say you want to do it manually to make sure it's all correct and stuff like that, there is a referral tab. You can use the referral tab. It's at the top to manually enter in your referrer's wallet address. So that's two of the methods you can use. There's also the QR code method. You can also navigate to our app by scanning someone's QR code, and that will also put in the referral automatically. So once that's done, once the referral is set, you can then go ahead and purchase solar panels, right? And so there's a card called Buy Panels. In that card, you can go to the bottom. You can pick how much BNB you want to deposit, and you can then go ahead and deposit that BNB. The amount of panels you receive will be roughly equal to the exchange rate, just because at the time when you buy, maybe someone else is also buying, so it can fluctuate. But yeah, you will receive panels according to the exchange rate, as well as whatever BNB you put in. And those panels will then begin earning you ROI, right? The ROI will be 14.28% daily of the panels value you own. So you will receive 14.28% of the panels value you own every day. You can then go ahead and start compounding, which will then let you get beyond this base level of 14.28%. You can keep exponentiating how much returns you get every day, and you can end up, in the thousands to tens of thousands of percent ROI.
Okay, nice. That sounds fairly simple and a great way of earning some passive income. Yeah, the price of the panel fluctuating is actually a question that I had, but I see it's determined by the exchange rate at the time. So you guys are providing some pretty nice rewards. Where exactly does the revenue to be able to provide such rewards comes from?
So in terms of our ecosystem of products, I believe that's what you're referring to. The revenue will be coming from our casino. So we have an upcoming casino. It's called the SolarVerse Casino. Essentially, from the SolarVerse Casino, whatever the house makes, as you're aware, that there is obviously when people lose to the house will then make money, right? All of these funds will be diverted right back into the miner. So we take none of that cut, and that will go instantly back into the miner. It will support V2 and V1 miner. However, it won't be a 50-50 split. It will be more so 80% to V2 and 20% to V1. We also have our upcoming Launchpad. Again, the fees from this Launchpad, 50% of the fees that we generate will be returned back to these miners and the SolarFarm token. So we have a token as well, right? And this will just help to boost the TVL of both miners as well as increase the liquidity of the token. Now, we also have SolarFarm token. SolarFarm token has various taxes on it, and one of those is a miner tax. That miner tax goes back into the miners to help boost their TVL. On top of that, we do a heavy amount of marketing to ensure that there's constantly TVL flowing into the miner, and we also do buybacks.
Okay, nice.
Hi guys, I'm Alex. I'm the owner of SolarFarm. Just wanted to add to that. We also have an externally traded treasury that sort of comes in from the tax generated from SolarFarm token, and the purpose of the treasury is to then be deployed strategically in sort of delta neutral strategies and such to generate revenue for the miner from other protocols. So we're bringing in funds into the protocol from external protocols, and what that creates is more sustainability and the fact that we don't need to recycle the funds of new buyers with the older buyers.
Okay, great. Yeah, all of that makes sense. So there are various different revenue streams to be able to provide these rewards. So how much can one actually expect to be able to earn using your miner, and do these earnings fluctuate?
So yeah, that's a really good question. So first and foremost, your earnings depend on several factors, right? One depends on your profit-taking aspect. So let's compare it to a coin, right? If you're someone, if you're holding a normal token that likes the DCA approach, that's equivalent to sort of selling at like following the 21 strategy, 29-1 strategy, or the 13-1 strategy on a miner, then you do make consistent profits. But someone who holds a token until they think that token's maximum value is reached is the equivalent of someone who compounds until they think the miner's potential TVL has topped. Those people will stand to make the most. And the second thing is that we've had a lot of people who invested smaller amounts of 2-3 BNB, especially in V1, and have come out with sort of large amounts, sort of 5-figure dollar value just from referrals. So people who have gone out there, referred, and got people to use their referral link have generated significant amounts of revenue for themselves through SolarFarm.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. So that's what causes the fluctuation. So when a user actually goes ahead and purchases a panel, are funds locked when deposited into the miner, or are they able to sell their panel for BNB at any given time?
So when a user buys panels, what those panels do is those panels generate power. So when you deposit, let's say 10 BNB, you get 10 BNB's worth of solar panels. These panels aren't actually a token or any form of asset with liquidity, right? What they do is they generate passive income by generating you power. Now, with this power, you can either compound it to get more solar panels, or you can sell your power to get back BNB. So yeah, that's how the mechanism works. So it's not the panels directly; it's the panels generating power that you can do something with. You can either compound or sell it.
Additionally, in terms of fluctuating panels value, so you said that you're interested in knowing why the panels value fluctuates. It's because, for example, in the basic miners that you'll see around, they are inherently inflationary, right? So buys don't do anything to the actual supply. However, compounding and selling will inflate the supply, to number one, to punish people who sell, and number two, to ensure that you're not just giving people like funds from one person to another person. The funds have to come from somewhere, and so that inflation helps redistribute a fair amount. That's what the basic miners do. However, our miner has both deflationary and inflationary concepts. So buys are directly deflationary, right? Which means that the supply will shoot down, and therefore the exchange rate will become very expensive when lots of people buy. However, when lots of people sell or lots of people compound, the price will get cheaper. And so there's a counterbalancing act this entire time between the buys and the sells and the compounds.
Okay, I see. Yeah, that sounds like a really interesting system. So the panel actually generates power, and then that's kind of how you claim your BNB. That makes sense. So you guys released some pretty big news, a V2 miner. What's the difference between your V1 miner and your brand new, with I believe over 1,000 BNB locked V2 miner?
Yeah, so there's a lot of differences. First of all, V2 is done completely from scratch by myself. So I created it from the ground up with just ideas that I thought would be quite good based on community feedback. And I also made it quite interactive. We worked with the community. I supplied polls with information briefs, and people voted on certain features to be in or not in. And so it was created from that. And it's an entirely from scratch system. This system involves various penalties that affect how often people can sell, how much people can sell at once, all these sort of things people complained about with not just our own V1 miner, but all miners in general. It's just safeguard features that should have been there that weren't there. And so I implemented them this time. I created the Solar Guard system, or the fairness system. And essentially, the Solar Guard fairness system involves base abuse, dump abuse, and spam abuse penalties, right? The base abuse penalty is a 50% tax when a user attempts to sell over 5 times their fresh value, which is what we call the allowance, right? So when your allowance hits 0, if you continue to sell, you would get a 50% penalty tax to the amount that you've asked to withdraw. There's also the dump abuse. This essentially prevents a user from selling equal to or greater than their fresh value all at once, right? So if you do get caught by this, you'll receive a 50% tax and you'll receive a 25% panels reduction. And then there's the spam abuse, right? We require that users space out their cells between 15 compounds. If you don't abide by this, then you will receive a 75% tax to the amount you asked to withdraw and a 25% panels reduction. This is just to make the TVL more sustainable and sales and profit taking just more responsible, as it's when it's done over a period of time and smoothly, it's much more sustainable, and the TVL you'll see will just keep rising instead of receiving massive impacts all at once and draining out. Additionally, we have a compounding bonus system. So if you continue to compound, every free compounds you do, you will receive a 1.5% greater compounding bonus. This will cap at 15%, but you can get up to 15% compounding bonus every time you compound. What does that mean? That means when you go to compound, the amount of power you use to compound, you'll get a 15% addition of that power that you've tried to compound, and so you will receive 15% more panels, right? And so yeah, you can exponentiate your compounding even further through this mechanism. We also have like a selective sell mechanism. So you're allowed to you're able to sell like a small quantity of whatever rewards you've built up instead of the full thing. In miners, typically when you hit sell, you'll sell all of your rewards. However, here you can select how much you want to sell, and you can store the rest. Let's say you want to compound a bit, you want to sell a bit, you can do that.
Okay, I see. So V2's introduced some pretty significant upgrades. That probably answers my next question, but I'll ask it anyways. What are you guys doing differently? How did your project manage to surpass most of the miners out there in such a short amount of time?
Well, so it's a combination of these new features and also our marketing team. Big credits to Moneyfest here. He's been putting in a big effort with this V2 miner, ensuring that the community keeps interactive and chilling, and hosting competitions for people to continue to be active and participate within the protocol, and that's just really helped to make more people more enthusiastic about spreading our project through word of mouth. And yeah, it's just in general the development side of things as well as the marketing side of things. And I think the fact that the product is a lot better that we're selling compared to other people selling similar products, and by that I mean the miner, I think that also is a big help.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. So first thing is that primarily the way we're sort of looking to build a community more so than anything else. We initially approached this as, we want to build a miner, take this concept of something that doesn't require active liquidity, take that concept further. And so when I approached Zips, we didn't want to make too many changes to Baked Beans just to build up that community trust. Then it's just the way we approach that V2 that really just set us apart. And I think that we probably most likely will be the top miner out there hitting sort of 5-figure BNB. And it's our approach and how we took on community feedback. Zips put out ideas to our community based on their feedback, went with a poll, developed the whole of V2, DApp and contract himself, which is, a lot of workload that normally and other projects that have managed the work done have had to hire like an actual dev team of 3 or 4 people, and it's taken them a month or two. Zips has churned it out in 2 to 3 weeks by himself. So that sort of speed and work rate, it builds a lot of confidence in the community itself. And then Moneyfest has done tremendously well with the marketing funds. In the early stages, how we pay our developers is we pay them through the dev tax. Zips has said he doesn't want to take the dev fee. He just gave it all for marketing. Moneyfest has made tremendous use of that. I don't know if you guys follow football, but like we've got someone backing us who's the wife of an international European striker called Mauro Icardi. His wife, Wanda Nara, with about 14 million followers on Instagram, is publicly backing us. So, it's just getting people like that on board as well. It's really contributed towards our growth.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys have done many things differently and it's clearly paid off. So I noticed a security feature you've implemented, which are different, I guess you can call them abuse taxes. How do those work and when do those kick in and when do those take in effect?
So as I can take this one. As I explained earlier, we have 3 actual penalties, right? We've got the base abuse penalty, the dump abuse penalty, and the spam abuse penalty. Our system works by allowing us to track the users' fresh value. What is fresh value? Fresh value is the amount you bring to the protocol, right? That doesn't already exist within the protocol. To make that a bit simpler, it's how much you invest that you haven't also just sold and reinvested back in. So it's pure money that you've brought to the protocol. Allowing us to track this is a really key element here, because that allows us to create this system of penalties, right? Additionally to the fresh value, we have what's called the allowance. Now, the allowance is, and this is a basic overview of what it is. It's not exactly what it is, but it's 5 times the fresh value, right? So allowance will be set to 5 times the fresh value you bring, and then based on what you sell or buy, it will increase and decrease accordingly, right? So if you sell, it will decrease linearly, but if you buy and you haven't sold already, then it will increase by a factor of 5, right? Now, for the base abuse, essentially, once your allowance hits 0, you'll begin receiving 50% tax on any sell you do. So once your allowance hits 0, you're going to start being taxed. As for the dump abuse, if you attempt to sell equal to or greater than your fresh value, so the amount you've brought to the protocol, all in one sell, then you will receive a 50% tax and a 25% panels reduction, as it's quite an irresponsible thing to do. And then in terms of spam abuse, as I mentioned previously, we have a system where we require people to space out their cells between 15 compounds. If you don't abide by the system, then what will happen is you'll receive a 75% tax and a 25% panels reduction. So you can sell without having to compound 15 times. It's just you will receive this massive penalty if you do decide to do that. On your so once you've initially invested, there is a mandatory 15 compounds that you must do before you can sell at all, however.
Okay, yeah, that's understandable, and those are some pretty nice security measures, some safety measures that are implemented. So let's now talk about some of your extra utilities. What's the progress on the SolarFarm token, and how does it tie in with the project?
Okay, so the SolarFarm token currently works so it has an 8% tax. So 3% goes towards the external treasury that we use to generate funds from other protocols back into SolarFarm. Just creating a little bit more sustainability. 2% goes towards marketing, and then the remaining 3% goes towards the TVL of the miner. However, the key part of how the token works is when the MetaVerse rolls out. Now, the token will be, number one, it will be the reward token for the casino, but it will also be the input token for the casino. And we're creating a peg mechanism that that's completely unique. No one has ever done it yet in crypto, and how it's going to work is like such. So let's say that you want to play a game of roulette, or you want to play a game on the slot machines, right? And it's 1 BNB to have a go on the slot machine. These are just rough numbers. It's either 1 BNB or 10,000 SolarFarm tokens. Now, what that does is that it creates a peg, and how it creates a peg is like so. So let's say 10,000 SolarFarm tokens is cheaper than 1 BNB, and you want to play the slot machine. You'd rather buy 10,000 SolarFarm tokens as opposed to 1 BNB, so you get a cheaper entry. Now, this process continues to happen until 10,000 SolarFarm tokens is equal to 1 BNB. Now, if it's more expensive than 1 BNB, the natural sell pressure from it being a reward token for the casino will take it back down. So through this, we actually create a really cool peg mechanism by generating volume from a casino that also generates tax that adds to TVL for the miner. So that's the main utility for SolarFarm token and how it's sort of unique in tokenomic construct.
I see. So the token already has an established utility, and I'm assuming it'll be coming out really soon. So I read about your SolarPad, a Launchpad that will feed its revenue into the project. What are the plans for this?
So with the SolarPad, we are actually creating a Launchpad that's significantly more robust than PinkCell. So I think Zips will be able to explain it in a little bit more detail, but we've actually announced our first product that we're going to launch called CyberSphinx. They're currently finalizing a few ends on their DApp, and then we'll be ready to launch that as our premier token. But Zips is also working on a Launchpad which will feature anti-bot. That basically means that, a lot of launches on PinkCell, they just get botted very heavily, or you can interact with the contract directly through the blockchain. So it's just bots who get access to the whitelist. We solve that problem, and that's again going to drive a lot of value and volume to our Launchpad, which then feeds back into TVL as well.
Yeah, that's well spoken. So first of all, in terms of SolarFarm token's already released. I'm not sure if so if you go on our DApp, you can go to the token section, I believe. It should say, token in our navigation bar, and you'll be able to see that SolarFarm token with the ticker. You can see a chart button and a swap button. These will take you to the chart and the swap respectively. So PancakeSwap and I believe DexTools is our chart that we decided to go with. So yeah, SolarFarm token already exists. In terms of the Launchpad, as Alexander has said already, the project we're deciding to, how we're deciding to structure the Launchpad is we'd like to have it so that we have a Premier launch. Now, what this Premier launch will do is it will showcase how good our Launchpad is and how we've delivered upon everything we've said or set out to do, right? And yeah, it's fundamental that we release if we have a very strong first launch to showcase this. And so we're currently waiting for our Premier launch to be ready to actually launch. Like, they're still in their development phase somewhat, so we have to wait for them. Like, in terms of the Launchpad itself, the Launchpad is finished. I believe Alexander touched upon this already, but my time scale for developing is a bit like out of the ordinary. I prefer to do stuff like in sub 24 hours. So my Launchpad was already made a long time ago. It's just I cannot deploy that and have people use it before the Premier token. Otherwise, that defeats the purpose of the Premier token, right? So we have to wait until they're ready to actually launch, and then we can go ahead and launch it. Again, in terms of the features of our Launchpad, we have multiple types of listings that you can do in terms of the security. If you pay more, you can have a launch that's more closely guarded by ourselves. So we will have a team that vet projects. They go in, they sort of analyze the team, the telegrams, the socials, everything, and make sure that the team is legitimate, and they are actually setting out to deliver on what they've promised to deliver. If anything goes wrong in terms of that, they can be removed from our Launchpad before they even launch. But that will be one type of launch, and then another launch will just be a basic fair launch process where you can just or pre-sale process where you can just list for cheap, for like relatively cheap fees compared to pretty much any other Launchpad around. As well, all of these Launchpad areas will feature anti-bot, so people can't just bot the hell out of a launch pre-sale before like anyone else could buy in. So those are a few things that we've got in our Launchpad. It's just, again, we're waiting for the Premier launch token to be ready to actually launch.
All right, that sounds great. So some unique features implemented with these solar pads. So we should be expecting that soon. It was stated that the percent of the revenue generation from the solar pad will be allocated towards different parts of the project. So I have a question regarding the biggest percent allocation. It was mentioned that 50% of the funds generated from the Launchpad will be put back into the ecosystem. Where exactly will these funds go? What aspect of the ecosystem will be funded?
Okay, so 30% will be going to the SolarFarm miner V1 and V2, and 20% will be going to the SolarFarm token. So 15% to SolarFarm V1, 15% to SolarFarm V2, and 20% to SolarFarm token.
Okay, nice. And is there an expected launch date for this solar pad?
No, as I said previously, we have to wait until the Premier token is ready to launch. Otherwise, we can't really launch. So it's just we're waiting on them at the moment.
Okay, and then there's another utility that I wanted to touch base on. So it's the SolarVerse. What exactly is the SolarVerse, and what will this consist of?
So the SolarVerse is our MetaVerse. Oh, I'll let Alex talk about this one.
Yeah, so the SolarVerse is essentially our MetaVerse. What the SolarVerse is, first and foremost, we'll be rolling the SolarVerse out in 4 phases. Phase 1 will be interacting with the miner within the MetaVerse. So just like on our DApp, where you can go now, you can buy your solar panels, you can compound them, or you can sell your power. You'd be able to do that within this cool interactive metaverse environment. So that's phase one. And then phase two, we're going to be introducing two really popular games with our own twist on it, which is our version of Crash and FOMO 3D. So those two games are going to come through in phase two as part of the casino. Then phase three will feature slot machines and roulette, and then phase four will feature our multiplayer poker. So the Solarverse, to just summarize, essentially is number one, it's the miner interactivity within the metaverse, and number two, it's our casino. And then we'll continue to develop the Solarverse after that, incorporating sort of customizable NFTs and such, but that's a little bit further down the line.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for answering all my questions really well. Thank you to our amazing community and the team of SolarFarm for being with us today. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. You've answered all of both my questions really well. All of my questions really well. And I know many questions that the community probably had weren't answered, and unfortunately we didn't have time for them. So I recommend for you to go ahead and join their Telegram and ask your question over there. I'm sure the community or team will be happy to answer. Make sure to do your own research, as we do not offer financial advice. And we did cover a lot today, so this AMA has been recorded and will be posted on the Whalecoin Talk Telegram chat. Do you have any final thoughts to say to our community before I go ahead and wrap this up?
Yeah, first of all, thanks everyone for joining in. We hope that you've found it to be interesting.